Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome to the NoDQ.com live recap of AEW Dynamite Road Rager for July the 7th, 2021. A new era for AEW, back on the road for the first time outside of Jacksonville, Florida, since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic. A lot of things happened on this show tonight, so let's go ahead and get right down to the recap. Shout out to everybody in the chat room watching this live, and thank you to everybody else watching this on demand. I appreciate your viewership and support. We started off the show with Cody. Why not? Cody Rhodes versus QT Marshall, who, by the way, got no entrance, pretty much the jobber entrance. And Cody fought QT in a strap match. Crowd in Miami, they were hot for this show, but for this match, I was a little concerned because they were not red hot for it like I thought they would be. They also sat through a bunch of matches for AEW Dark and Elevation. You had Aaron Solo trying to interfere. Dustin Rhodes ran down to even the odds. QT hit a low blow. Cody was able to recover from that. And at some point, QT got busted open. And then we had the lights go out, but nothing happened. False alarm, maybe a little tease for later. Stay tuned. The match continued, and QT hit an avalanche powerbomb. He wrapped up Cody with the strap and hit a diamond cutter. He tried to get to all four corners because in a strap match, you have to do that. Was not successful. Cody hit a Cody cutter and then a little bit of poetic justice. Cody hit his own low blow to QT. And then he went for the fourth corner. QT, in an act of defiance, spit in Cody's face. So Cody laid him out with 3 crossroads and then got to the fourth corner and picked up the victory in the strap match. And I agree with Dylan. Having QT already standing in the ring did give away the result. I was not expecting QT to win anyways, but yeah, when you give him the jobber entrance, that doesn't really bode well for him. So opening match was good match, but did not blow me away. I was hoping for maybe something a little bit more intense or something more high profile to kick off the show. It was fine. It was a decent opening. We had Shawn Spears cutting a promo backstage, and he was jumped by Sammy Guevara, who called him a bitch and said that their feud is far from over. We then had an in-ring interview with Tony Schiavone interviewing Kenny Omega and Don Callis, but Tony really did not say much of anything because Don Callis took over the interview. Crowd chanted, "You got fired." He got fired from Impact Wrestling, so hopefully you're following all that stuff, because otherwise, if you're a casual viewer, you would have no idea why they're chanting, "You got fired." Callis ran down all the people in AEW that Omega has beaten, said there's nobody left, which of course, cue the cowboy shit chants, and "We want Hangman." Dark Order arrived, and Evil Uno, wanted to know why Omega is ignoring the number 1 ranked wrestler, Adam Page, because, well, we got to stall for time until All Out, but they didn't actually say that. Omega responded by having a question of his own. What is the capital of Thailand? And Evil Uno did not know. If he did know, maybe he would have braced himself. Bangkok. And that's exactly what Omega did to Evil Uno, giving him the low blow. We had a big fight breakout. Good Brothers arrived, and apparently they're going back to Japan. AEW did announce for next week's show, Jon Moxley will be back. He will be facing Carl Anderson for the IWGP United States title. Adam Page ran down to make the save. Crowd was really into Adam Page, and he had a face-off with Omega, but Omega took his title and fled the scene. So a little bit of build-up for that. I'm guessing we'll see that match eventually at All Out in Chicago, and very well could be the crowning of a new champion. We had Jim Ross doing a sit-down interview with I was going to say Adam Page, Ethan Page, and Darby Allin. And Allin said that basically Ethan's jealous because it took Ethan 12 years to do what Darby did in 1 year. And Ethan was very upset about this, saying that he's the guy that helped Darby on the indie scene, and if it wasn't for Page, Darby Allin would still be nothing, still be homeless and living in his car and all that stuff. So nice little promo here from these guys. We then had a 6-man tag team match. FTR and Wardlow, Tully Blanchard in their corner, up against Jake Hager, along with Santana and Ortiz. They had K-Dog Conan in their corner, former NWO member, and today is the 25-year anniversary of the NWO's debut. I don't think they made any reference to that. I think it would have been a nice little homage to the NWO to do something on this show or some kind of reference to the NWO, but I don't believe there was one. Correct me if I'm wrong, though. If somebody caught a reference to the NWO, let me know, other than, the Good Brothers doing the Too Sweet stuff, which they always do. So anyways, back and forth match here with these two teams. It eventually came down to Jake Hager and Wardlow. The big guys going at it, trading blows. Hager was getting the upper hand. That's when Tully Blanchard got on the apron, and you had FTR come in with the big rig to Hager, and Wardlow scored the pinfall victory. And after the match, Conan confronted the Pinnacle, but then Tully Blanchard came in from behind with a chop block, and then they ran off to the back. Nice little match here. Wardlow gets a big win on this show. We had a quick promo from the Good Brothers hyping up, as I mentioned earlier, the IWGP United States Championship match next week. Jon Moxley defending against Carl Anderson. We then had an in-ring segment with Chris Jericho and MJF. MJF was going to talk about his stipulations in order for Jericho to get a one-on-one match against MJF. We had a fan jump the ring. A fan tried to get into the ring. He jumped the barricade, and Chris Jericho punched him right in the face, and this fan was quickly taken to the back. You can check out video footage of it over on NoDQ.com, both the footage that aired and footage from a fan cam of that fan being escorted out of the building. Colin Andrews says Y2J showed why he's the GOAT. And he says that whole thing was great. Anyways, let's get to the actual segment. Jericho said he would do anything to get a match with MJF, even having sex with MJF's mom again. MJF was very pissed off about this and brought up what Jericho did last year when he put Jon Moxley through all the hoops to get a match. MJF said he's going to take a page out of Jericho's playbook and make it better. It's going to have a twist. Jericho said whatever the terms are, he would agree to them. MJF wanted a handshake to make sure Jericho's a man of his word. Jericho did shake hands, and then, of course, Judas effect to lay out MJF, and I'm guessing Jericho's going to be suffering some consequences in the upcoming weeks. Nice little segment here from these guys, although some will say kind of just rehashing that previous storyline, but at least they acknowledged it, that MJF's going to do his version of what Jericho did to Moxley. Hamp Kano with a $2 super chat. Thank you, Hamp. Says, will Conan tell somebody in AEW to toss his salad? You'll have to tweet that out to Conan and see if he can throw out that line again. Maybe he can tell Tully Blanchard to toss his salad. And Dylan with a $5 super chat. Thank you, Dylan. I appreciate it. Says, just a reminder to the fans that if you jump over the barricade, the wrestlers can and will do what they want to you. That is very true. That's the risk you take if you jump the barricade. And it only took one show, one time. AEW back on the road in Miami, and we already have fans jumping the barricade. Yep, it's a wild profession sometimes when these fans come in the ring and try to be part of the show, but it's open season if you do that, so you may want to think twice. Not just getting arrested, but also getting your ass kicked on national television. We had Brit Baker cutting a promo. She's very upset about Vicky Guerrero and what happened with Rebel getting hurt last week, and said Tony Khan, the president, should feel bad. But he does it because El Idolo Andrade is now in AEW. Vicky Guerrero brought him in, so that's all Tony Khan cares about. And Britt Baker told Tony Khan to enjoy the blood money and said maybe AEW could run in Saudi Arabia next week. Ouch. A shot at WWE. Michael Wayne is not amused by this. He says taking shots at WWE again, boring. And Peter Gilmore says called at Rift. Thank you for that, Peter. Thank you for tuning in. I thought it was kind of funny, but I know a lot of people are going to get upset about that line. She's a heel, though. She's trying to get heel heat, and she knows that those people will bitch about it. Oh, taking another shot at WWE, but you know what? It was kind of funny, so I'm not bothered by it. We had Matt Sydal versus Andrade El Idolo making his in-ring debut with AEW. He was wearing this black skull mask, and he had his dress pants that he was wearing as ring attire. Kind of interesting. Even though he's a heel, he was pandering to the fans a little bit. He was doing Eddie Guerrero's taunt, which of course got a big Eddie chant. Andrade missed his diving foot stomp. Sydal did get a near fall with a Meteora, but then Andrade finished him off with the hammerlock flatliner, which he's just calling the El Idolo. And he picked up the victory over a very game Matt Sydal. And after the match, Andrade put on an arm submission using his belt for leverage just to inflict some more pain to Sydal. TGS says he likes the attire. Daniel thinks it's a tribute to the Batman Black Mask villain. Marshall says, how is Caitlyn doing? Well, you could tweet her and ask yourself at KLifeFail on Twitter. She's doing well, though. But you can always message her and tweet her or whatever. We had Arn Anderson in the ring for a promo with Tony Schiavone when all of a sudden the lights went out again. And we're all like, okay, is this another blooper? They brought up the weather, but as it turns out, this was no blooper. The lights came back on, and we had Aleister Black, Tommy End, and he's got a new name now. He showed up in the ring. Crowd went absolutely nuts for this, as you would expect. He hit the black mass to Arn Anderson. He then stood there as the crowd chanted, "Holy shit." Cody Rhodes got into the ring, just completely shocked by what was happening. He got hit with the black mass as well. And it was quite the debut, I must say. They're calling him Malachi Black now. I guess that's his new name. And he did post a video earlier today. He had this video published on his Instagram account, which was like a little short film. And here he was. And I guess he got out of the 90-day non-compete clause from WWE. Apparently some guys were able to get out of it. WWE was letting people become free agents right away. TGS says, why not call him Thomas Black? Because that doesn't sound very intimidating. And he also had like the makeup on his eye, you know, from when Seth Rollins took out his eye. So he's just totally going with this demented character. And I liked it. I thought it was a really good debut. Fans popped huge for him. So big thumbs up for this. And hopefully he doesn't end up just being another guy to lay down for Cody in the near future. We'll see what happens with him in the future. But for now, very cool debut. Dylan with a $2 super chat says, should I be excited about this Aleister guy? Yeah, I would say so. I would say that this is a chance for him to shine, and WWE let him go. They brought him back. He attacked Big E, and then they released him, and now he's in AEW. So he's got some momentum. He's got something a lot of guys don't have. You know, he got a push right before they cut him. They didn't even have him job out on the way out. They just brought him back, and he had some momentum being on Friday Night SmackDown, and then they cut him. And he got out of his 90-day non-compete. He's in AEW, so yeah, more power to him. Malachi Black, I like the name, and I say they should try to push him to the top and make him a top guy. But we'll see. Dylan says, I don't watch WWE, so I've never seen this Aleister guy before. Interesting. Never even watched NXT, huh? But yeah, he's definitely somebody that will turn heads if given the opportunity. We had some footage shown from, I guess it was AEW Dark, with Brian Cage and Ricky Starks having a confrontation. They're going to be competing for the FTW title. That's to come later this month. We had a tag team match, mixed tag team match. We had Orange Cassidy and Chris Statlander against the Blade and the Bunny. Orange Cassidy doing all of his vintage Orange Cassidy stuff, doing the kicks to the Bunny, and he had his hands in his pants. And for a while, the women were going at it. Blade took out Orange on the outside of the ring, and then as a strategy, Blade had himself tagged in, which officially made Orange the legal man, and Orange almost got counted out, but he did get back in. Chris hit a 450 to Blade, so we did have a little bit of the guys and the girls, mostly Chris going after Blade here, but a little bit of interacting between the men and the women in the mixed tag team match. Bunny ended up pulling Orange Cassidy out of the ring, and then we had Brass Knuckles from Bunny slipped over to the Blade. He used them on Orange Cassidy. However, Chris Statlander tagged herself back in so Orange could not get pinned, and then she hit the Big Bang Theory to Bunny to pick up the victory. So really fun match here. I enjoyed it. Gary Joe says, I really loved the creative finish. It was a fun match. And I agree. We had Jungle Boy on the stage getting a trophy for 50 wins in AEW. We had some photographers there taking pictures of him. We then had Tony Schiavone interviewing Dan Lambert, this MMA guy, and pardon my ignorance, but I really don't know much about this guy. Wasn't he in in TNA for a brief period. He did some kind of angle in TNA a couple of years ago. Impact Wrestling. Sorry, guys. He was there with Amanda Nunes, who's a very accomplished MMA fighter. And Lambert cut this promo and basically just insulted AEW, said that he was skeptical about coming to the show. Tony Khan wanted him to show up, but he didn't want to be there because, in his opinion, AEW sucks. This kind of was like a throwback to when Scott Steiner said WCW sucks, but at least Lambert doesn't work for AEW. He said that the glory era of wrestling was in the 1970s with guys like Dusty Rhodes and all those old timers. And he said that wrestling has gone downhill since the 1990s. That's when Lance Archer ran down to the ring. I figured somebody was coming out there to beat him up, and Lance Archer beat him up, hit the blackout. Nice pop from the crowd. Anthony says pipe bomb, and Curtis Butler says he told the truth to a certain extent. Well, I mean, I guess if you're going to say wrestling has gone downhill since the 90s, I mean, you could definitely make that argument. And I did see some people comparing it to Pete Rose and Kane from the 90s. Michael Wayne says Lance Archer is no Kane 1990s. Aw, that's mean of you. And Thomas Farmer with a $2 super chat, thank you, Thomas, says almost half of the AEW roster is former NXT and WWE talent. Well, I'm not even sure if that's accurate. I mean, AEW has a lot of people. And it's funny because I said this when Andrade debuted. How many more guys will AEW pick up? Like, they seem to sign most of the guys that leave WWE. I figured if Aleister Black was not going back to WWE, AEW would almost certainly be in his future. But there's several free agents out there. Are they going to sign Strowman? Like, how many more guys will AEW sign? They have a lot of people under contract. If you watch Dark and Elevation, they got a lot of people. They do 15 matches on Dark and Elevation every week. There's a lot of people under contract. Dylan Hensley with a $2 super chat. Thank you, Dylan. I appreciate it. Says, Dan does like AEW. He was just saying that for heat. Yeah, I mean, it was just a heel promo to set up Lance Archer coming out there and beating him up and getting the big pop. But it was a good promo. I liked it. We had our main event of the evening, which was the Young Bucks defending the AEW Tag Team titles against Penta and Eddie Kingston in a street fight. And this was just wild. You had the Bucks accidentally super kicking Nakazawa, taking him out of the equation. Don Callis was on commentary, as he always is for these matches. Penta, early on in the match, hit a destroyer to Matt off the apron through a table. And then later, Nick did a swanton onto Kingston. There was a trash can on top of Kingston. But then Eddie was able to recover from that. Eddie was on the verge of submitting Matt when Nick did a 450 splash to the referee, taking out the ref. And then the Good Brothers arrived. Penta took them out with a dive. And then Kazarian, the Elite Hunter, showed up. He took out Brandon Cutler, who was trying to interfere with the spray cans. Cutler got powerbombed through a table. And then Eddie Kingston went for a cover again, no referee. This led to a second referee coming down. Nick Jackson pulled out that second referee. You had Anderson and Gallows with a magic killer to Penta. And then Eddie Kingston got the thumbtacks. Matt ended up throwing the tacks in Eddie's face. Eddie and Penta somehow were able to fight back. Crowd was chanting AEW. And then tacks were thrown into Penta. He was hit with a super kick. And then Nick put tacks in Eddie's mouth. Matt hit another super kick to Eddie. So thumbtacks in the mouth, super kick, and that was the end for Eddie Kingston. That was a crazy ending, but I kind of feel bad that Eddie lost again. Like, Eddie Kingston's always on the verge of getting this big moment, and he doesn't get it. He keeps coming up short. I would have liked to have seen a title change, since this was the first show back on the road, to get that big crowd pop to end the show. But other than that, match was awesome. George says, great main event. Kingston is literally crazy. That ending, wow. Steve-O says, great main event. I thought it was very entertaining. I kind of wanted a title change, though. And George says, I really thought the titles were changing, too. Dylan says, I think Eddie Kingston should go for the TNT title. And Colin Andrews says, when will we see a Bucks match without the Good Brothers? Well, if the rumor is true about the Good Brothers going back to Japan, they might not be around in AEW quite as much. So overall, that was a great Dynamite. I really enjoyed it. First show on the road. As far as I'm concerned, it was a big success. It felt like an unpredictable show. Like, it didn't feel like a scripted television program, which is what you want when you're watching a wrestling show. You want this feeling of anything can happen. So I definitely recommend this show. I give it an A-. Few things I would have done differently. Maybe a title change. Maybe I would have done something more exciting for the opening match and not put QT Marshall in there. Guy is, great trainer. Props to him, but that match was kind of lackluster for your first match on Dynamite on the road. But all in all, hell of a show. Aleister Black's debut, big moment. Steve-O and MVP Kev given an A-. Michael Wayne with a B+. Israel Diaz with a B. Colin Andrew, B for Black. Gary Joe says, this was a hell of a show. Felt amazing. Life is finally back to normal. A-. Curtis Butler says it was like an after WrestleMania Raw used to be. Strong B. Mr. Heavy Metal Hero Dude with an A. And Dylan gives it a solid A as well. And if you guys like this recap, again, I ask you to please share a link to this video on your Facebook or Twitter, or even just tweet me. Say something about the channel. You like the reviews. What do you like about this channel? Why are you watching? Just tweet me something so I can retweet it and get some publicity, maybe get some new viewers. Anything you guys could do to help out would be very much appreciated. And of course, if you haven't already, click on that subscribe button, and I'll be back for the No DQ review. We got a lot to talk about this week. And SmackDown, the last SmackDown at the Thunderdome this Friday, I'll be recapping that as well. Take care, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your week, and I will see you all next time.